Good evening and welcome to week 3 of Education 512. I was very impressed with your guys's week 1 discussions. I am starting to read through discussions for week 2. For those of you who are curious about deer hunting weekend, it was the first time that any of my uncles can remember nobody in our hunting party seeing a deer. So we went the whole weekend with about 10 of us and nobody saw or heard anything. So it was quite a boring weekend out in the stand and a little bit frustrating, as like I said, first time in 40 plus years that anybody can remember that happening. On that note, to respond this week, which blob are you feeling like and why? As I noted, I'm a little despondent about deer hunting, so I am probably 13 or 5. I'm a little grumpy about it. In my family, we tend to eat venison instead of beef. However, that may be hard this upcoming year. So, this week, as always, we will grow as a community of learners while implementing CASEL's 3 signature practices, which are a warm welcome, identify your blob, please, engaging activities, and an optimistic close. We're going to link learning of ethics to communication with a video prompt and then into a discussion board post. So you will need these slides to get to the videos. And then we're going to engage in thoughtful questioning around current educational topics on another discussion board post. So when I say there's 3 discussion boards to respond to, I am including this one. Just the initial responses, which I try to keep as fun and lighthearted as possible because some of the ethical issues we're talking about are very heavy. These 3 resources should be loaded into the course materials. There's a Johnson book, sample ethical communications assignment, and sample normative theories assignment. So those should be under course materials. The Johnson book may not be there, but there's the Code of Ethics sample and the normative sample. I think we removed the Johnson book. It's that one. So don't worry about this one if you can't find it anywhere in there. So what I would like you guys to do is access these slides and watch this video about ethics. Consider using the simply stated video to springboard you into connecting ethics to communication in your assignment, which is due next week, and your first discussion board for this week. So the video from discussion board 2 this week reveals more dilemmas that challenge our thinking. If you find yourself changing your mind as variable shifted, what reflective reconciliation have you done, if any? Is it okay to see a largely similar situation differently just because a detail or 2 changes? What does this tell us about ethics? Is it okay to see an entirely similar situation differently just because you think about it differently? What does this tell us about ethics? I will say, in my opinion, I think all of this is okay because ethics is a very abstract idea, and the tiniest changes can change the perceived correct answers. Because as I've mentioned before, there is no one right answer. There may be some wrong answers, but there's often lots of answers. So for discussion board 1, your week 3 assignment focuses is ethical communication. So I want you to look at this 4 basic principles of ethical communication and post your responses to these questions. Who is the intended audience? What evidence from the article supports your answer? So who is the intended audience of this article? Share one aha or key learning from the article. What is the implementation value in your professional practice? And one I wonder statement. For example, I wonder how the information presented in this article aligns with what the school social worker role is in my school. I'm sorry, I am home alone with my dog, so he is whining that he is not getting enough attention. Is there a connection or a contradiction to your professional teaching or leadership role? Why or why not? For this week, you can casually engage with your colleagues as you like. There is no minimum response post required in discussion board 1. So you do not need to respond to your peers. However, it is always appreciated. For discussion board 2, there's a video. What's the right thing to do? And it's a TED Talk. For this particular discussion board, you'll be responding to a video that may challenge some of your personal and or professional beliefs about what is right in ethical decision making. Be prepared to write more than the 200 words for this discussion board. This video is a longer one, which is part of why I'm trying to keep this video short, but it is one that will hook you in and challenge your ethical reasoning. So here are a few things to ponder as you write response. What stands out to you? How does this connect to your professional life and experiences? How does this connect to trauma and resilience? Provide examples throughout your reflection. And for this one, please dialogue with at least 2 cohort colleagues. Looking ahead to our calendar, due this Saturday is the ethical communication assignment. Due Saturday 12/2 is an Oral Leadership Theories impact paper. And due Wednesday 12/20 is the Code of Ethics, Purpose, and Impact. So we did nail down that this is due week 8, and it will be student choice. So you can choose either to do a paper or a presentation. I will talk more about that as we get closer to it. However, I'm going to go to the assignment that's due this week. The ethical communication assignment. For this, you're going to design a 4 to 8 minute video or podcast that educates and promotes ethical communication in education settings, including the use of digital content. So you should incorporate ethically sourced media. So what I mean by that, that's a question that came up a lot. And then how you assess the source or data as a graduate researcher. Graphs, art, anything that you use in a presentation like this should be cited. And that's part of ethically sourcing it, is to make sure that the author or artist is given credit. And then, especially with today's stuff with AI, to ensure that if you are using AI at work, the AI is getting credit for that work through a citation, and or that you aren't using media that you think was not created ethically. That is up for you to decide. But make sure that you touch on that ever so briefly. The intended audience for this presentation is either students or educational professionals. That is up to you. Design an audience appropriate assessment over the content presented in the video or podcast. I highly recommend just attaching that as a separate attachment. And then to use an APA format for works cited list at the end of the presentation. You do not need to read your works cited list. Just leave it up there for 10-15 seconds so I can pause and look at it. There is a rubric located in the syllabus for that. Lastly, thank you all for being teachers. You're awesome. Keep it up. That's really it. I know that the last 5+ years have been pretty hard on teachers. Thank you for all sticking with it. Or if you're newer to the profession, thank you for coming in. I hope things turn around and get easier, but teaching has never been easy. So thank you all for everything you do. Your students greatly appreciate it, even if they may not tell you that they do. Have a great week.